Live, Laugh, Larceny discusses true petty crimes that may be disturbing to some.
Or could be easy listening to all you psychopaths out there.
All stories are based on actual events, but details may vary.
Listener discretion is not advised.
Live,
Laugh.
Larceny. Welcome to Live, Laugh, Larceny, the mathematical equation that can prove why kids love Cinnamon Toast Crunch. This is Trevin.
And I'm Amanda. So, Trevin,
Yes.
dreadful dilemma this week for us all?
My life is a dreadful dilemma. So, wanted to give everybody an update on where everything is going on me chasing my dreams.
Woohoo!
And I hit my first speed bump. So I am editing for some big shows. I picked up 5 more since we've made this announcement to everybody.
That's amazing, by the way.
Thank you. Getting closer to leaving my job.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this new program called Duped. It's been around for a few years, I think, and it's super cool. I usually judge people in my line of work right now because I work in the transportation industry.
Mm-hmm.
And all I see is people still living in the 70s and 80s and not progressing. So it bugs me. So here I am. I got my audio degree in 2009. So I'm kind of living in the past myself. I haven't really upgraded too much since then. I've gotten new versions of things, but I haven't really changed my workflow because I know what works. So I thought to myself, I don't want to be this old person who doesn't progress with the times.
No, who wants to be that?
And so Cloud 10 likes to use Duped, which I've always wanted to play around with it, but never had a chance because I just didn't want to pay for it. And I didn't care to download the free version. So to describe Duped to you guys, anybody who doesn't know anything about audio, you've seen programs and stuff where you see a person working on a computer and you just see a bunch of waveforms, a bunch of sounds. Well, Duped takes your audio, sucks it into the program, and then turns it into a basically Microsoft Word document. So when you press play on your podcast, as the audio is moving at the bottom, the words on the Word document are getting highlighted as they're spoken.
It's very cool. You briefly showed it to me.
It's extremely cool. They also have ways that you can automatically type in, look for filler words, like every time somebody says, it just finds them all in the document and then you can go and delete them. There are these automated things where you can click apply all and just delete them. And you can either delete it where it just cuts it and moves the audio over, or it will put a blank space there. Because sometimes you're just saying, and if you just had a blank space there, it gives that idea that somebody was thinking, you know what I mean? Because obviously they didn't come up with that answer just like split quick.
Really? Because we do that all the time.
You guys may think that we do. I just thought, I need to get with the times. I can't be living in the past on how you do things. This show is a very big show, not just with its crowd size, but also just the fact that their episodes are really long. So I thought, this would be the perfect show for me to learn this program on. Well, y'all, I didn't learn the program as well as I thought I did. And the episode gets released, and a little bit later I look and I see that there had been complaints from their listeners about the quality of their show, which it hurts. It hurts so bad because you are listening to a perfectionist who still remembers mistakes he made at the age of 11. So for me to say, hey, I'm going to take this shot. I'm going to start being an audio person for real. And I have what it takes to do this all across the board.
Yeah.
And in my first episode, working with this show, trying to network, trying to get to know these people, boom, I dropped the ball. Completely dropped the ball. There were parts where they asked me to cut it out, and this program did not flag it for me because you can search it by name. So you could type in Trevin and look for any time it was said.
Okay.
Which, of course, I don't have a normal name, so that throws the whole program off.
Oh, God. I could see that.
I've seen Chavin pop up on there. I've seen Trevor many a times.
Oh, guaranteed.
So I added it to the program's dictionary, but it still only works about half the time.
What is a Trevin?
Yeah. So there was some parts where the episode got through and it said, hey, Trevin, can you cut that out? And I didn't cut it out, which I totally get. I deserve a slap on the wrist for that.
Yeah.
But there was also parts where there was the ums getting took out, and the program automatically put little blank spaces in it. So they would be talking, and then there would just be a stop, and they would keep talking, and then sometimes it would be a stop. And it's not as distracting as you would think on that part, because I listened to it. It took specific ones being pointed out for me to even hear it. When I would go to listen to it, I couldn't just be like, oh, this is all screwed up. It wasn't that bad. But anyway, I spent an extra 2.5 hours yesterday when I'm already swamped with my 9 to 5 fixing those issues because I thought that my life was going to be easier with this program. And then after I did that, more other listeners commented and said that they could hear those microscopic stops as well. So I'm like, shit.
Oh my God.
So I just had to like lay myself out there and say, please don't hate me. This won't be this bad next week.
Right.
I thought I could get with the times, and now I'm going to firmly go back to having trust issues. Don't worry, guys. I won't trust that program ever again or myself. And we'll get past that. But it really sucked. And as far as all the other shows I'm working on, I want my name credited on all of them.
Right.
Except for this one. I don't want anybody to know that I'm the editor of this show, because even if it meant that it would get some followers that liked me and liked our show, don't. I'm like a ghost writer on a book. I'm a ghost editor.
Oh my God. Well, all of that sounds extremely stressful, and it makes me stressed out just thinking about it for you. But I think that you obviously can only control how you handle the situation, how you feel. And I hope you're genuinely giving yourself the grace, because you have a lot going on.
Yeah. It was still just a risk that I probably should have thought through a little better.
Yeah, and we all learn. We all learn. But I think give yourself the grace. You're doing, 500 different jobs at once. So just take a minute, reflect, keep continuing to figure things out as you go, and you're going to be just fine. You're going to be a shooting star, Trevin.
I want to be a shooting star. Please make it so.
Well, you're getting through it, and you'll be just fine. I also have a dreadful dilemma, and mine's a little more simplistic, I would say. And it's something, honestly, kind of adorable and just kind of ridiculous all in one. So my dreadful dilemma this week is that, as most of you listeners know, I have the 2 little ones at home, right? Mm-hmm. And our whole entire basement has basically turned into their own personal playroom, if you will.
That's a lot of space for 2 kids, too.
It's a lot of space. It's like just one big room, and we've given them probably a good 85% of that room to have. And with having all this room and 2 kids, the toys add up. And so I bought this new toy organizer on Amazon. And it's a really simple one. It's like a shelf, and then it comes with these little square-shaped organizing, kind of like the ones you have here. Yeah, but they're a little bit like shorter and wider. And anyway, I got these, and I put all their toys in it, and it was looking all cute. And then I realized that Lila and Winnie had both dumped all the toys out of them, and Lila was turning the squares on their side and making them like little teepee houses for her Barbies.
Oh.
I have a picture. I made Jordan take one. Hold on. I need to show you before we go on.
Okay. So yeah, she's talking about those little cloth square cubby shelves is what you're talking about.
Yeah. And she's folded them from a square to a triangle. I will post pictures on our social media, but needless to say, honestly, it's creative, I think, on her end to turn these into these little like houses for her Barbies. But it also completely 100% defeats the whole purpose of why I got them.
Yeah, I'm finding that with my pets, whenever I think I can outsmart them and find a new system that will kind of make them do what I want them to do, they always find a way around it. And I'm thinking that it'll probably be the same way, if not worse, when I have kids.
Yes, I'm here to say yes. Yes, it will. Because, you think, hey, I'm going to get a thing that's going to help my basement remain more organized. And then it just becomes part of the chaos.
Yeah.
Parenting 101.
Kids love to destroy.
Oh my God. So we are going to do a rousing game of 2 truths and a lie this week.
I've got 3 wires. Which one do I cut?
I'll give you 2 truths and a lie.
But wait, we don't have time for this. We are rousing indeed. And you're going first.
I am. All right, Trevin. So I am going to be doing 2 truths and a lie about narcissistic personality disorder.
I hope you're not talking about me.
Oh, I am, you narcissist. Making it about yourself right here and now.
Yep.
Okay. Do you know much about this disorder, though?
I've dated it.
Okay. So you've experienced it firsthand. So have I. I have experienced it firsthand, and I definitely have some friends who have dated people just like this. Shade. I don't know if we should leave that in, but maybe we can. All right. And here are the statements.
Okay.
Statement 1. Narcissism most likely starts in childhood, but can only be diagnosed in adulthood. Statement 2. About 75% of people with narcissistic personality disorder are men. And statement 3. One of the most common traits in narcissism is the need for control.
I'm going to go with B is the lie.
Really?
Yep.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but you're wrong.
Damn.
So it is true. Narcissism, as they are trying to learn more about it, because it's an ever-evolving situation, and I feel like in recent studies, we've learned a lot more about this disorder.
Mm-hmm.
But it is assumed that narcissism most likely starts in childhood, but can only be diagnosed in adulthood. That one is true because
all kids are narcissists.
Let's get real.
Yeah.
Let's get real. As a child and even as a teen, when you really think about it, it's like everything's about me, me, me. So yeah, they're like, that can't be diagnosed when people are kids, because come on.
Yeah, everything is about you when you're a kid.
And statement 2, about 75% of people with narcissistic personality disorder are men.
Now, I will say this. I am not saying that I think women should be more or anything. I totally believe that men are. Usually, when you do a 2 truths and a lie, it's the number-related things that are usually off a little bit. So I just thought it would be a little closer to even.
No, and I hear that, and that actually makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I was honestly a little bit shocked too, just because I've known people that I believe have this that have been both male and female. Personally, I know more males, just like from my past and everything. But yeah, I was honestly a little shocked it was that high too.
I mean, if you think about politics and stuff like that, I could probably name you more men than women in the world, because men don't hide it well.
They just can't. They just can't shake it. Okay, and then statement 3, one of the most common traits in narcissism is not a need for control, even though that is, a part of it. I did a lot of research on this one, and I looked up a bunch of different traits, and I went to a bunch of different sites and statistics trying to figure this one out. And the one trait that the majority of people said was like the top one to look out for is for the excessive need for admiration.
Yeah.
Which obviously you can have that and not be a narcissist too. Like, I know for me, I love words of affirmation. Like, tell me I'm doing an okay job, But this is a deeper thing. This is like, you need to worship me at my feet kind of thing.
Yeah, you and I are very similar in the admiration thing. I feel like I'm failing all the time, so just tell me I'm not, would you?
Please just tell me that I'm not failing. That's all I need. Exactly.
Well, that is so fun.
Wasn't it?
I love learning about narcissists. But yeah, that totally all makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And when I was doing the research on this, even just for this one little segment, I learned a lot. Mm-hmm. And I think it's good that we all kind of educate ourselves about narcissism just in general, because I think a lot of really toxic things happen surrounding that. And if you don't know about it, how are you going to know?
Mm-hmm. You need to have awareness of what to look out for and what to experience. Yeah, that's so true with what you were saying about the third one, because you would think that a narcissist, a person who's always me, it just thinks they're the gift to the world. Mm-hmm. But really deep down, they feel pretty self-conscious.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what leads them to almost overcorrect in a very unhealthy way. Mm-hmm. As a kid younger, I would have thought, these people must think they're perfect.
Yeah.
But they really don't.
They're actually very, very, very insecure usually. That's what all the articles were saying as well.
Yeah, like the guys who drive the big trucks.
Right, right. But yes, so watch out for those traits. And I just wanted to throw this out there real quick because her and I have DM'd like through our podcast Instagram account time and time again. She's so sweet. And I guarantee you have heard of her show. But if you haven't listened to Something Was Wrong.
I knew that's who you were going to talk about.
Yes, by Tiffany Reese. She's such a good person and like podcaster and just an awesome gal. I love her work. And if you want to learn more about people with narcissism and hear personal stories about that, oh God, I could not recommend that show more.
Well, the title, like Something Was Wrong, I'm sure it has to do with that.
Does it ever?
All right. Well, I have a 2 truths and a lie for you.
I'm ready.
And we're going to be talking about Jimmy hats.
Jimmy hats?
Or condoms, as the lamos would call it.
Well, I am pretty lame. I'll take it.
I just always love the term Jimmy hats.
Jimmy hats.
So we're going to do 2 truths and a lie about condoms.
Okay.
Statement 1. The inventor of Goodyear tires invented the first rubber condom. Statement 2. Condoms used to be very expensive, causing them to be washed and reused a lot. Or statement 3. Trojan condoms were named after the Trojans of Troy because they are the earliest recorded use of contraception.
Whoa. All of those are very weird. I thought I was going to choose a different one, but my heart is telling me to go with C, being the lie.
And you have won.
I did?
Yes, the Trojan condoms were just named after them liking the Trojans, I guess. They didn't really say, although some people believe, the Trojan horse.
Yeah.
Like, it's holding the bad guys. So some people have kind of made that joke. I don't think that was ever proven.
I just assumed it was because, like, when you think of Trojans, you think of, like, these big,
masculinity and tough
warriors that are like, I don't know. I don't know if that's what they were going for.
I think people have said that too.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was ever, like, straight up why that was what they went with.
Huh.
So yes, the inventor of Goodyear tires did invent the rubber that would eventually be the rubber condoms. Before that, they were actually made from animal intestines, because animal intestines don't leak.
Ooh, wow.
The rubber ones were the first ones that were actually able to be thrown away.
Oh, okay.
They could be thrown away, but you wouldn't want to because they were expensive.
Yeah.
So then the second one, condoms used to be very expensive, causing them to be washed and reused. In the 1600s, condoms were made of animal intestines, like I said. One condom could cost a U.S. prostitute's pay for 3 months.
Whoa.
So they would actually disinfect them by washing them in warm milk and then just reusing them.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Nothing. Absolutely nothing about that sounds sanitary.
No, it really doesn't. And I don't know why they used prostitutes' pay to explain the pay of it. I wish somebody would have done a pay scale. I would have picked something completely different.
Yeah, and also, don't they know that the proper term is sex worker now?
Yeah,
Come on.
I mean, this was like a National Geographic thing or something I was reading it from, but I thought that's such a weird pay scale to go off of.
Yeah.
But anyway, 3 months worth of work, and so you would just keep running through the same one.
Wow.
It's wild. And then the main reason why I wanted to do this fact, and I, for the life of me, could not find it. It was a fact I learned a long time ago. I can't even remember who it was. Some historical figure, and I want to say it was like a Mormon thing, but they actually passed down their parents' condoms down the generation. So at a certain point, it'd be like, here you go, son. Here's my old condom. Keep it. It served me well. It'll serve you well, too. Now, unfortunately, I cannot back that up with who it was because I have been looking for days and cannot figure it out.
Oh my God, your Google search history is probably so weird at this
Oh,
point.
I'm flagged. I make sure not to do show research at work.
I would not do that.
Yeah, not after the last flag I had with that. But I can't remember who it was, but that was so interesting to me and I wanted to share it all with you guys. So I was like, okay, I'll talk about these other condom facts.
Okay.
But I guess it was common in some form of people that they did pass it down through generations.
I was going to say, like, is this just an old wise tale you've heard? Or like...
I want to say it was on an episode of Behind the Bastards, and they talked about a historical guy who had it passed down, but I can't remember who it was.
Okay, fair enough. That is so weird. I would not want that family heirloom.
Right. I just want you to know that it has, in some circles, that's probably a passed down item.
Whoo! My God. Keep that to yourselves.
Yes,
no, thank
please.
you. So, Trevin, let's switch things up a bit and maybe tell the folks some ads.
Yeah, if you got money, we know what you can do with it.
Here you go. Okay, and we are back to stories. So I am going first this week. I have yet another story from the news.
The news is poppin' lately.
The news is poppin'. Honestly, this one really isn't super, super recent, but I think it's something that could happen really at any time and at any place. So it's something we still all need to watch out for.
Great, I'll keep my guard up.
And here we go. I think it is safe to say that we have all experienced someone who has gotten on our nerves. Maybe it's the lady in your office who sneezes extra loudly for attention. Perhaps it's your overly competitive brother-in-law.
You call that a healthy stream?
Or maybe it's hearing your own voice on a podcast.
Welcome to Live Laugh Larceny. I sound so stupid.
But my story today won't be about a simple annoyance between two people. Oh no. Today, I'll be talking about a straight-up rivalry. An all-consuming and escalating vengeance that turned so foul that it rocked a tight-knit neighborhood to its core. 57-year-old Amy and 67-year-old Kay almost seemed destined to become sworn enemies from their very first encounter. They had shown up to the same neighborhood Super Bowl party, each representing their team from head to toe.
Let's go!
The only problem was that they represented opposing teams. From that meeting on, it became clear that the two had completely different beliefs and values. But deep down, they shared many of the same insecurities, causing resentment and a rivalry to form. This took place gradually over time, as both women were involved in their upscale community in the Woodfield Country Club in Boca Raton, Florida. Even though the women disliked each other, it was nearly impossible to avoid the other living in the same neighborhood.
Oh, shoot.
The feud started out small, with Kay making a remark about one of Amy's handbags being from last season. This caused Amy to constantly bring up how Kay was nearly a decade older than her. Kay acted offended by Amy's store-bought desserts,
Ew.
while Amy despised and avoided Kay's yapping dog. Eventually, Kay started a rumor about Amy, and Amy retaliated with a rumor about Kay. The tension continued to build between the two women, as the whole neighborhood felt the pressure to choose sides. When March had come around, the rivalry was at peak stress level. Both Amy and Kay had become completely obsessed with taking down the other in any way possible. It was around 3 p.m. one afternoon when Amy stood at her sink, quickly finishing her dishes. She knew that it was around this time that Kay would be taking her yapping dog on a walk through the neighborhood. Amy knew this because it had become a sick routine for Kay to allow her dog to defecate in Amy's yard without scooping it up afterwards. Amy had found this out the hard way after she stepped in a pile of turds while gathering her mail one morning. Since then, she vowed to catch Kay in the act and make her pay once and for all. Like clockwork, Amy spotted Kay with her dog, heading straight towards her manicured lawn. Amy peered out her window, watching Kay's every move. It was then that Kay guided her dog over to Amy's lawn. The small dog smelled the familiar grass as he circled the area and began to squat. Slowly and deliberately, the dog left a pile of fresh feces on her yard. Amy was fuming as she looked up at Kay's smiling face, and she rushed outside.
Hey,
clean up your dog shit off my lawn, or I'm reporting you to our HOA. Amy threatened as she approached Kay on her sidewalk. I was going to pick it up, but if you're going to yell, then you can clean it up yourself. Kay scoffed back. Rage had taken over Amy's body as she stomped back into her house and grabbed a plastic baggie. Rushing back to her front yard, she grabbed the still warm puppy poo up and threw it towards Kay. On March 18th of 2015, 57-year-old Amy Goldberg was accused of throwing dog feces at her 67-year-old neighbor in the Woodfield Country Club in Boca Raton, Florida. Amy says that her neighbor habitually allowed her dog to poop in her yard without any effort to clean it up. She also stated that the two neighbors had a long history of bad blood. But the neighbor and Amy told the authorities two different versions of what happened next. The neighbor claimed that after Amy threw the poop, Amy picked it back up and smeared the poop on the neighbor's arms and face. Amy insists, however, that she only threw the poop in her neighbor's general direction, and that the neighbor had smeared the poop on herself to frame Amy. Regardless, Amy was charged with battery of a person 65 years or older. This charge came with a possible sentence of 3 years in jail, and Amy could have been fined $10,000. Luckily for her, on January 8th of 2016, a Palm Beach County judge granted Amy's petition to have the criminal record of the incident expunged. Rivalries can become a pretty intense thing. They can take up all your energy and effort just to try and prove that you are the superior individual. So if you find yourself in the middle of one of these toxic situations, it may be good to take a step back, or you too could find yourself in a heap of shit.
Well, that is one way to handle a situation. Wow.
Yeah, so I did want to clarify a couple quick things. The name of the neighbor, Kay, is completely made up.
I figured the neighbor probably just stayed anonymous.
Yes, so the only actual real name is Amy because she was the one that was charged. And yeah, I looked far and wide to find the neighbor's name and couldn't. Also, Amy does have a statement that says that there was a lot of bad blood between them, just like I said in the last paragraph. But as far as what they did to each other and the bad blood, obviously, I had fun with that.
Right.
I don't know what led to this moment. I could only imagine, and I had some fun. And then also, the other detail that I really wanted to know that I couldn't find was anything about this dog. I don't know if it's a big dog. I say in my story it was a small dog just because that seems funnier to me, that somebody would get really, really mad about a dog shitting in their yard and it was like a tiny turd. I don't know, though. I couldn't find out a name of a dog, a type of breed, any sort of detail in any way, shape, or form.
So, do you think the woman smeared shit on herself, or do you think the girl threw it?
I have gone back and forth with my own personal opinions. I wanted to make sure that I told both sides and that I didn't just finish the story telling one side, because that's just how torn I am. And also, I can only see Amy's mugshot. Not that I'd gain anything by being able to see the other person, but maybe it's because I can just see how sad she looks in her mugshot that I'm like, come on, like Amy couldn't have been all that bad, right? But it's hard to say.
Right.
Okay, for me, I'm picturing these are two women. They live in a very upscale area, like high-end houses in Florida. There's clearly bad blood between them. Something had to happen for her to, I feel like, snap, unless she's just that wild of a human being, right?
Right.
And so for me, I don't know. I think maybe Amy was framed, question mark?
Framey?
And even Amy herself, she admitted They agree on the whole entire situation, except for the very last detail. Amy admits that she went out there and yelled at her and threw the dog poop in her general direction. But she's like, I never touched her. And for me, if you're going to admit to that part of it, why wouldn't you just admit to everything? But also, who would rub dog poop on themselves?
I mean, I can picture some wacky ass people that are just so overcome with emotion and anger. They're just like, I'll get you. And they just start covering themselves in it. And honestly, if I was Amy, in my heart of hearts, I know I didn't hit her with the dog shit.
Yeah.
I would never go near that woman again.
Oh.
If she will cover herself in poop to teach you a lesson, then I don't know what else they're capable of.
No, straight up. Can you even imagine throwing a bag of dog turds at your freaking neighborhood enemy, okay? And then they pick it up and they're like, oh yeah, and start smearing it on themselves.
Making eye contact the whole time.
I mean, that's another level, but I don't know why that seems more believable to me.
Florida woman.
Because Amy, I mean, it's pretty wild to even just throw a bag of dog poop, let alone smear it on someone.
Yeah.
And she admitted to that part.
And my question too is, did she call the cops and just sit there with shit on herself until somebody showed up? Or did she like jump in the car and drive to the police station like, look at this. Obviously I didn't do it to myself. Because she didn't just automatically clean it off herself. If you threw shit on me, I would have washed it off first.
Yes.
Not sat in it longer for evidence.
Yeah. And she had to be the one that called the cops. So could we be completely wrong? Of course.
Yeah.
But I'd like to think that they were both at fault here.
Yeah, I think they both lost their cool, but I think Kay or neighbor woman needed some sort of a slap too.
Yes. I'm glad we're on the same page. And also the judge expunged the charge. So like clearly the judge had some reason to be like, okay, you're both at fault. You're both little nuts here, right?
Yeah, he's probably just like, thanks for making my day less boring. So you say he expunged it, so she didn't get charged. She didn't have to pay anything or do any type of time?
I don't know.
Or community service, I guess?
I don't know, because most of the articles said that she was charged and that she had the possibility of facing that much time. But the only site that I saw that had an update, that's all it gave me, was that the judge expunged it. Like we say a lot, there's not a lot of updates usually on these, but there was one that said it was expunged. I don't know what that means exactly. We need to have our little lawyer listener on standby for things like this. Like, what does this mean, expunged?
Yeah, phone a friend.
But yes, isn't that quite the story though?
That is quite the story. It's funny how things like that can escalate all the way to where the police have to be involved. I imagine if I would have gotten in a run-in with somebody with dog poop, it probably wouldn't have made its way to the police. It would have been like, well, that was something. I guess we'll just watch your back. We won't do that again, you know?
That's another reason why I feel like it's the way that we think. I think that maybe the neighbor did it because I'm like, you're the one that involved the cops.
Right.
Like, I don't know. It just seems so weird.
Well, that was fun.
Thank you.
And I actually have a story that involves dog poop, not on me today. But
you don't have dog poop on you today?
No, I have.
I'm just kidding.
Shucks. I wish I would have had that one written now because that would have been a great two-parter, but
my God, would it?
I'll hold on to that one for way later. So I have a story this week, and it has to do with trust.
Ooh, okay.
And maybe how we all shouldn't do it.
Ooh.
I mean, I trusted that program to make my life easier, and now I'm looking like a failure. So maybe we can leave this episode with a little less trust in our hearts.
I'll try it out. Sure.
Yeah, if I can get that, I will have achieved my goal. So let's just jump into this thing, and we may have some questions. And here we go. Have you ever been duped? You know, deceived, hoodwinked, or sold a bill of goods? For everyone, being tricked can be an all-around negative experience. And sadly, it happens to all of us. We've all seen documentaries about the dupers, the scam artists, the swindlers, and the sommeliers. We know that they are usually narcissists who have great people skills, allowing them to confidently run situations with their dishonest schemes. Been there, done that, right? With murder documentaries being such big-ticket shows for streaming services, it was only a matter of time before they started putting out less murdery content. Now, scam crime content is becoming almost as prevalent, making the personality traits of a scam artist as recognizable as charisma is to a cult leader. So, instead of looking at the duper, I'd instead like to look at the dupee, the poor victims of these dastardly villains, and what they may have in common. Through my findings, I've found that there are 3 common traits that lead to a textbook duping. 1. Our victim is too trusting. This can be your younger person who has not yet learned the evils of the world.
I'm young.
A sweet grandma who sees the good in everyone.
I'll get my purse.
Or just an overly optimistic person. Either way, they have no defenses up because, well, people are inherently good, right? Obviously, I'm going to say they are wrong. People are all the worst. Why do you think I strive to be a hermit? Number 2, family, family, family. That's right, family. The people who you grew up with, the ones you have known the longest, well, they are regular people too. And regular people are the devil. There are plenty of pessimistic people in the world that have no trust for others, but there's always that soft spot for family. Maybe they watch too many Fast and Furious movies, or their favorite restaurant is Olive Garden. Either way, they let the idea of family be a very important motivator for making poor decisions. And my third and final reason for being a dupee is an offer you can't refuse. Whether it be winning a fake prize or being offered an expensive sugar pill that is said to cure your debilitating fear of squirrels.
Fuck! Another squirrel!
There are offers out there that we simply can't refuse. A lot of it comes down to desperation. I am desperate to no longer be deep in the throes of capitalism. I would sell my soul to no longer have to dedicate my time to the man and focus on the things that make me happy. So that would make me very susceptible to this form of being duped. Examples of this can range from amazing job offers, miracle cures for ailments, fake prizes, Facebook ads for 80-inch TVs priced at $40 each, MLMs, and even the free gift that comes along with sitting through a timeshare presentation. These are the most obvious and easy to find of the dupes. But even people who can smell a scam will suspend disbelief in the name of desperation. So really, all 3 of these traits come down to ways of making you trust. Without an inkling of trust, no attempted swindling can swindle, leaving you swindleless and safe. But this is exactly why these traits exist in the first place. Scam artists will work every single one of these angles to the best of their ability until they eventually make you trust in them. If you haven't guessed by now, someone in this story is going to get duped. So take notes and try not to be the dupee in your own story. Keith was an older gentleman living in Lewiston, Maine in 2019. He enjoyed the finer things in life and tried to keep his life as stress-free as possible. For the most part, this was pretty easy. Being recently retired, Keith was able to leave the stress of the daily work grind behind him. This allowed him more time to take relaxing drives on the countryside and catch Monday matinee showings to avoid teens talking during his movies. Although the twilight of Keith's life seems like the most relaxing way to live, there was one thing that was still an ongoing dilemma for him: his son. As frustrating as some family members could be, Keith's 39-year-old son Joseph really took the cake for family members who caused stress. Since Joseph was a boy, he was always causing trouble, and now, getting closer to being a middle-aged adult, things still haven't changed. What started as Keith picking up his son from the principal's office for smoking cigarettes in the boys' bathroom had eventually evolved to him needing to pick up his adult son from jail for possession charges.
You made bail.
As much as it should have been a relaxing time for Keith, there were still plenty of anxiety-inducing periods brought on by Joseph. But a parent's love knows no bounds, and no matter what trouble Joseph found himself in, Keith never stopped believing in his little boy. On a beautiful day in April of 2019, Keith picked up Joseph for his weekly father-son time. Worried about the way Joseph was taking care of himself, Keith liked to take his son out to eat and catch up with him. This was a great way for him to stay connected with his son, but also make sure he at least got one good meal in him. For the last month or so, Keith had an ulterior motive for his visits. Each time the two would meet up, Keith would always try to float the idea of rehab to his son. He knew it wasn't going to be easy, but he wasn't going to give up on trying. Keith pulled up to the address that Joseph said he was at and let him in the car. There was already a tense feeling in the air, as Joseph already seemed to have an attitude. "How was your week, son?" Keith said kindly to Joseph as he continued driving down the road. "It's fine, Dad. I really don't want to talk about it. Where are we getting lunch?" Joseph responded in an ungrateful tone. The two continued driving on, having small talk, keeping things polite and casual. What Joseph didn't know was that Keith planned on surprising his son by taking him directly to rehab. As the two pulled into the driveway for the facility, Joseph immediately began to react. "Not this again, Dad. Come on. You can't keep bringing me here." Keith looked down at his steering wheel, unable to make eye contact. "I'm your dad, and I'm not going to give up on you. Even if we don't go today, I will unapologetically try again next time." The two sat in silence before Joseph responded. "Well, I'm not going today. You will not get me out of this car." Keith gave a slow, defeated nod as he started his car back up. "I understand," he said. "Where do you need to go?" In a hateful tone, Joseph gave a quick response. "I need to cash a check at the bank, and then you can take me to my friend Chad's house." Keith did as his son asked, hoping that his helpfulness and unquestioning nature would lead to his son trusting that he knows what's best for him. As Keith parked at the bank, he watched as Joseph exited the vehicle and went into the building. He sat in silence, thinking about the argument him and his son just had. "We'll get him next time," he said to himself in his rearview mirror. Keith was a persistent man, and he was not going to take no for an answer when trying to help his son. After some time passed, Joseph came walking fast out of the bank and back into the car. He seemed very stressed. "Are you okay?" Keith asked, as his son quickly cut him off. "Just drive, Dad. I don't want to talk about it." Keith put it in drive and headed toward Joseph's friend's house. During the car ride, Joseph continued fidgeting and even took off his favorite jacket. Once they arrived at Chad's, Joseph put his jacket on the floorboard of the car and attempted to leave. "Wait, son," Keith yelled. As Joseph stopped, "You forgot your jacket." "You can keep it," Joseph responded, still trying to leave. Keith grabbed his son's arm and handed him the jacket. "I'm not going to keep your dirty-ass jacket for you, son. Please take it with you." Joseph huffed, grabbed the jacket, and got out of the car. Slamming the door behind him, Keith watched as Joseph balled up his jacket and threw it on the ground behind the car. "I guess he doesn't like that jacket anymore," Keith said to himself as he headed back home. As Keith drove, he took the time to reflect on the run-in with his son. He remained optimistic, but it was never easy for him to have these mean-spirited meetups. The emotions swirled around in his head until he was quickly distracted by police lights as he went over to the next hill. Keith crossed the intersection and slowed down a little bit, just to get a glimpse of the scene. His local Lewiston bank was swarming with police officers. Judging by the scene, it looked like quite a happening had just occurred at the bank. Having just been there, Keith was very glad that this possibly dangerous situation didn't happen while Joseph was in there. Keith continued on until one of the police officers left the bank to pull him over. He sat patiently as the police officer walked up to his vehicle with his hand on his gun. "Do you know why I pulled you over, sir?" the officer asked. Keith stumbled all over his words, thinking that maybe it was a crime to intensely stare down emergency situations when driving by them. The officer spoke up again. "Do you know anything about the bank robbery that just took place at the bank you just passed? We've got multiple reports naming your vehicle as the getaway car." In that moment, Keith began to question every part of his day. Had he just unknowingly been the getaway driver for a bank heist? Putting all of the pieces together, he looked down at his steering wheel in defeat. "I've been duped," he said to himself as he began to cry. In April of 2019, Maine man Keith Tilton dropped his son off to cash a check at the Andrew Scoggin Bank in Lewiston. As he waited, his son Joseph approached the first teller and said, "Give me the fucking money. The cops are on the way." The teller first believed this to be a joke, until Joseph jumped over the counter, yelling, and began pulling money from the drawer. He then quickly fled the scene, where he got back in the car with his father and had him drive him to his friend's house. Later on, as the police questioned the teller about the perpetrator's appearance and getaway car, she looked up and pointed at Keith driving past, saying, "That's the getaway car right there." The police quickly apprehended Keith, as he knew nothing of the matter. The police also recovered an auto repair invoice with Keith's name on it, dropped at the scene of the crime by the bank robber. With all of the evidence pointing to Keith, he finally figured out what had transpired. Keith was unwittingly duped into being his own son's getaway driver for a bank robbery. Keith's 39-year-old son Joseph Tilton was later arrested and pleaded guilty in court to Class B robbery and Class C theft by unauthorized taking. He was forced to serve 7 years in prison and pay $620 in restitution, the exact amount that he had stolen. I know this wasn't a bizarre form of trickery, as this easily falls into the family trait of my ways of duping. But wow, what a way to use that trust. I'm sure I've accidentally done a lot of things in my life and not even known it. But rob a bank? That's a whole new level of blinders for a person. As for you all, hopefully I added some awareness to the ways of being duped. Don't be afraid to have some trust issues after hearing this story. At least it keeps you safe. So if a family member approaches you, down on their luck, and needing your help, ask yourself how they may secretly be trying to take advantage of you. Don't be afraid to get a little paranoid with it. After all, if you can drive away all of your friends and family with your lack of trust, that's less people that can try to dupe you. Friends and family are just possible suspects. So stay lonely, stay suspicious, and stay safe. Because there's nothing more poopy than being a dupey.
We both talked about narcissism. We both talked about poop. Like, my God.
We are just a couple of fun hosts, you know?
We are the most fun. Now, holy hell. If you are going to be wanting me to be your getaway driver, at least let me in on the plan or give me some of the stolen cash. Like, that is not okay.
It didn't work out for him, obviously. But I mean, a lot of things really did work out for him to have gotten at least out of the bank and into his dad's car without there already have been a scene.
Yeah.
For his dad to have left the bank and not even known. That's amazing. I mean, he kind of succeeded in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, he got halfway there, I'd say, for sure. Yeah.
So the thing with the auto repair invoice was he took an invoice for the car repair out of his dad's car before he went. Since I didn't really tell it from his perspective, I didn't really put it in the story.
Yeah.
But his plan was he was going to write a note on the back of that and give it to the teller. It says, "Give me the money, don't cause a scene."
Yeah.
But then they said that he asked her once, like, "Hey, give me the money." And she thought it was a joke. And then he just like, "Rah!" and freaked out and jumped over the counter and started pulling the money. In the process of doing that, he had dropped the paper that he was going to write the note on, the paper that had all of his father's information on the backside of it. So not only was the whole getaway driver story, that's the whole thing that makes it interesting for our show, but really that was a pretty dumb criminal move too, taking a piece of paper that had your information on it. Kind of makes me think of the one you did about the dude who went to the thrift store and hit on the girl and then shoplifted, gave her his number, but also on the back of the card was his business information.
Right. Yeah, people don't realize, like, if you're going to write a note or a letter, maybe choose a blank sheet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really not ideal to have your full name and info on there or your innocent father's.
For real.
Whoa. Talk about a very awkward father and son relationship.
Yeah, I found this story a while back and I wanted to do it. And then when it came time to write it, I was like, oh my God, I did not realize that this all comes around the dad trying to get his kid in rehab.
So all of that was 100%. Okay.
Yep, that was all real.
Wow.
They said he had been trying to get his son to go to rehab for a while. And, you know, it could be that he didn't want to rob the bank so much as he just wanted to get in trouble in a different way. You know what I mean? Like sometimes people try to avoid doing the right thing, so they just do a different wrong thing. So that could have been his cry for help. I really don't know. It's a funny story because a sweet dad found himself accidentally a getaway driver, which just would have been a great Father's Day episode story.
Right.
But I mean, it does come around some serious subjects, and so I didn't want to make fun of that situation, but we can still find the funny in it for the dad's side.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And what do they always say? Like, you know, tragedy turns into what did they say? You would know better.
Viewing a situation zoomed in is tragedy, zooming it out is comedy.
There you go.
And
there you go.
We definitely are looking at it in hindsight, which is zoomed out. So.
Yes.
Very funny.
But what a great dad. This is another one of those stories where I would love a follow-up. Like, did the son get help? What is their relationship like now? Is he in jail? Is he like, I just wish I had some follow-up answers.
Well, it was 2019 and they said he got 7, so he would still be in jail.
Oh, okay. That's right.
Apparently, he was supposed to have gotten at the maximum like 15.
Oh,
but
wow.
For some reason, they got it bumped down to 7 and then just paying the money he took.
Okay. All in all, I mean, it's still pretty crazy to have to be in jail for 7 years when you just probably took him, a few minutes to do the actual crime itself. But honestly, robbing a bank and only getting 7 years, I mean, I don't know. That doesn't seem too terrible, right? I don't know.
Yeah, it probably helps that he didn't have a weapon.
Okay.
And I guess maybe just taking $600, there might be a cutoff where the money amount changes.
Yeah, it's like it was under $1,000. Like, come on. Which is like, if he really knew how much he was going to leave the bank with, I wonder
would he have done it?
I know. I'm like, would you have gone through all that effort just for 600 and whatever?
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't have.
Oh, God, no. Not worth it at all. Gosh, well, I can kind of relate, like as a parent, you're like, oh man, no matter what you do, I'm still going to love you, you know? And so I can kind of like empathize with that dad. Poor guy.
Yeah, it would be hard to be a parent and have a kid that is just, it's one thing when they're kind of not doing good in life.
Yeah.
But it's another thing when they do something really bad, you know, like when you like watching the Dahmer series and stuff, like seeing the dad and stuff like that. It's like, God, that's sad. If your kid did something really, really bad.
Totally. And in this case, he involved his dad in the thing that he was doing that was really bad. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, like imagine if the dad would have gotten arrested for it and couldn't talk his way out of it.
Totally.
Because they said they completely believed his story and he got some questioning and they just let him go.
Yeah.
But imagine if they were both sitting in jail and he's like, you really fucked up this time, son.
Yeah, he's just like, God damn. Like, leave me out of this.
That would be the worst.
Oh, I'm glad he didn't get in trouble.
Same.
Whoa. Well, that was a really fun episode. As far as our story connections, obviously, we have the poop similarity and then the narcissism tied in with my 2 truths and a lie. But really, it was kind of about a close personal relationship between 2 people.
I like going outside of the box and just going with the narcissist connection. I think this would be a very narcissist episode.
Yeah.
If anybody has any connection story specific wise, let us know.
Yeah, for sure. We love hearing from you guys. Oh my God. Keep reaching out. Keep telling your friends about our show. And just remember, no matter the crime, big or small, in the end, we're all doomed.
Doomed to be some narcissistic douche holes.
Also, have a great week.
Oh, yeah.
Bye.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to our show, whether you're a narcissist or not.
And don't be an old used condom. Come and follow us on social media. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Live, Laugh, Larceny.
Oh my God. And if you have an ongoing rivalry with your neighbor, send us your petty crime story. livelaughlarceny@gmail.com.
And I know I told you not to trust and get duped by family members, but you can trust me. Go ahead and give me 5 stars wherever you can give them podcast. Spotify, Good Pods, or Apple. What started as Keith picking up his son from the principal's office for smoking cigarettes in the boys' room? Holy fuck, that's a long sentence.